name is Miguel Carretero. I am the profiteer of Guido's Pizzeria and Tapas. We've been in business for 32 years. My father immigrated here in 1964. He was part of the Spanish Pavilion contingency at the New York World's Fair. He was there approximately 2-3 years. Alfonso Cervantes, who was the mayor of St. Louis, wanted a destination venue in St. Louis. So he purchased the brick mortar, everything of the Spanish Pavilion from the New York World's Fair for, I believe, $1. My father has, he had returned to Spain, and he had seen an advertisement for employment for the St. Louis new restaurant. And my father, with 3 boys, immigrated here in 1970 and worked at the Spanish Pavilion. My father worked there for approximately 6 months, and the restaurant failed. And he worked for Anthony's downtown for approximately 20 years. 1988, I was fresh out of high school, maybe about a year or less than a year out of high school. We had an opportunity to buy a pizza place in South St. Louis for $14,000. I've always been in the restaurant business. I started at Favaz's as a busboy and eventually worked at Cecil Whitaker's and was a manager for them for approximately a year or 2 before I had an opportunity to buy that restaurant in South St. Louis on Morgan Ford. My father and mother helped me out with that. We were at that location. We had 3 locations at one time for approximately 11 years. We kind of went down to one location. We had an opportunity to get in this location in the year 2000, and we've been here for 21 years, and we've kind of closed all the other small operations and have one big restaurant. So, and we're very happy. The Hill's been very good to us. We love the Hill. It is a great mixture of Italian and authentic Spanish cuisine. We have Spanish is somewhat similar to Italian, the southern part of Italy. The community has embraced us, and we were able to introduce St. Louis to authentic Spanish cuisine, also as well as have the Italian cuisine, which has been our main staple for the last 31 years. My mother, until recently, was constantly working in the kitchen. All the recipes that we've gotten are from her. My father, being in the restaurant business, he would work the front door. My mother would help me out in the back. I've learned everything from her, and until recently I've kind of changed my roles somewhat and more concentration on in the front of the house. We immigrated here in 1970, and at that time, when my father worked at Anthony's, he was captain. So at that time, it was more of a profession, and that's what Anthony's was known for. And they encouraged waiters that came from Europe because they knew that the waiters were more of a professional. So Anthony's had a mixture of everybody from different countries. And my father, with his expertise, who's been in the restaurant business his whole life. In fact, ironically, I asked him how many years he's been at it, and he said 70. A long time for anybody. And my mother was a housekeeper for about 30 years. So I truly believe it is an immigrant story. They speak broken English because they never needed to learn to a certain degree, luckily. So, but they've gotten by and raised 3 boys for a long time, for almost 49 years. So we've been in this country.
Michael, he have a restaurant como el padre. The father is working in restaurant business all life. Cuando mi hijo cogió el restaurante, empezamos a meter aquí en San Luis. Así que es fantástico porque comen Spanish comida y comida italiana también. Así que son 2 comidas fabulosas, una italiana y otra española para el restaurante.
I'm very fortunate I have both parents that work with me on a daily basis. They have instilled with me the work ethic of an immigrant. They currently, believe it or not, my father's 86 years old and my mother's 82 years old, and they still work every day, lunch and dinner. So in fact, I have to force them to take days off. So it's been a pleasure to work with both my parents for over 30 years. This is our private event space that can be used for private events, whether wedding rehearsal, baptisms, showers. We also have a wood-fired pizza oven that we use for catering off-site for if you want to have an event at your home. We can bring your pizzas and your hot items to your particular backyard. Thank you.